Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andy, and welcome to the last Team Kentucky update of 2025. We'll start where we normally start, with a booming Kentucky economy. As we close the books on 2025, we've hit some major milestones. Since I took office, we've now seen over $45 billion in new private sector investment, and we've crossed over the 68,000 new job mark. Both of those numbers are records that we are very proud of. 2025 alone, we announced 184 new location and expansion projects totaling $10.5 billion in announced investments and creating more than 9,500 full-time jobs. That means that despite some national economic headwinds, 2025 will be the second best year for private sector investment in Kentucky's history. That's pretty exciting and something that we can all celebrate as Kentuckians. I want to start by giving a quick update on the Blue Oval project. As you all recall, Blue Oval was a joint venture between Ford and SK On. That joint venture is now dissolving. Ford is taking all of the Kentucky assets, meaning it will be the owner and operator of the two plants in Glendale, Kentucky 1 and Kentucky 2. The company has announced that it's going to invest $2 billion extra into Kentucky 1, and it's going to create 2,100 jobs at the completed facility. They're going to move from making EV batteries to making battery storage batteries. The energy storage batteries are in significant demand right now, and it looks like the market will be huge for decades to come. I want to thank Ford's leaders for continuing to believe in us, for knowing that these two facilities are really important, and for making some really large investments to make sure that they work for the company and that they have a future for Glendale. I also want to state that Team Kentucky is committed to making sure that all those affected by the switch from the Blue Oval ownership to Ford find either new opportunities with Ford or find other employment quickly. So what we've got is about 1,700 current employees at Blue Oval. They're going to be laid off because the Blue Oval company will no longer exist. Ford's eventually going to hire 2,100 people, which is hundreds more than currently work at the facility. But the timing is what we're trying to get more clarity on, because it's going to be, we think, about a 16-month period to take out the EV equipment and to put in the battery storage equipment. So our goal is going to be to put as many options in front of those 1,600 or 1,700 Kentuckians. What we've done is we've drawn about a 45-minute drive radius from Glendale, and we've compiled all of the jobs announcements that we've made. We're looking at all the companies out there that are hiring, and there are a lot of really good spots with really good companies. So my goal as governor is to make sure, again, that we get out there. I think we're going to use the training center as one of our sites and present each and every one of the current Blue Oval employees who will have their employment through the middle of February, a lot of options before we reach the middle of February to make sure that they continue to have solid, good employment. Kentucky will remain the battery capital of the United States. We used to say the EV battery capital of the United States. I think that's going to continue because of Ford's investment in LAP in Louisville. That now will be the crown jewel of the EV side of their company, where they're trying to make a $35,000 EV affordable for all Americans, but making sure that we are working with them to make both that project and this one a big success. A lot of other details we're still working through with Ford. Remember, the announcement of the dissolution of the JV came, I think, a week ago today, or maybe 8 days ago. Ford's initial news just came on Monday, so there's still a lot of work to be done, but Ford has been a great partner for Kentucky, and we know we can work through each and every issue. On Friday, we announced another project creating 110 full-time jobs and 390 construction jobs within the state's manufacturing sector. Anthro Energy, an advanced materials and battery developer, announced plans to locate a new $42 million facility in Louisville. This will be the company's first operation in the Commonwealth. It'll focus on electrolyte production for use in battery products. The 110 new Kentucky jobs created by the project include production manufacturing technicians, process and control engineers, facility managers, accounting roles, and maintenance and warehouse technicians. Along with the new facility, the company will support the community by helping build and establish partnerships with Louisville and Jefferson County. These will support workforce, job education, and recruitment efforts through various organizations like Kentuckiana Works, Jefferson County Technical College, KY Fame, U.S. Army, Forts Campbell and Fort Knox, and KY Valor. I want to thank the company's leadership for this great commitment, and I'm looking forward to Anthro's future success here in their new Kentucky home. On Monday, we highlighted a historic milestone for our state's manufacturing industry. ACFA Aluminum Solutions, a division of Uzbekistan's ACFA Group, announced plans for a facility in Bowling Green. This will be the first company from Uzbekistan to ever locate or invest in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We actually believe it's the first in the history of the United States. It includes a significant investment in the creation of 331 Kentucky jobs. The new operation will integrate recycled aluminum and energy-efficient systems to manufacture and support a low-carbon supply chain. This announcement from ACFA Aluminum Solutions introduces a new international partner to the Commonwealth. It's an important step for U.S. and Uzbekistan's trade relations as well. I want to thank the company for believing in Kentucky. Welcome to your new Kentucky home. We're glad that yet another company chose Kentucky as its first facility in the United States. And this morning, Stord announced plans to expand its Hebron facility. This is a more than $40 million investment that, here's the great part, will create over 500 good-paying jobs. The company provides a software platform that enables clients to view, operate, and control distribution networks. Stord employs 1,300 people company-wide, and its Hebron location is their largest warehouse facility. Companies like Stord are reinvesting across Kentucky, creating new jobs for our people, and showing that our Commonwealth is a place where business can succeed and grow. I want to thank Stord's leadership for their belief in the Commonwealth and congratulate them for this new exciting step in Boone County. I'd also like to welcome Sean Henry, CEO and co-founder of Stord, to the podium to share a few words on this project and the 500 new Kentucky jobs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Governor Beshear, I deeply appreciate the kind introduction and kind welcome. As you shared, Stord has already been in Kentucky, and we've already had such a great experience here. For the last decade, we've been leveling the playing field for brands with e-commerce giants so that they can achieve that same fast, affordable, and trusted delivery that major platforms a la Prime can. And we give that to independent businesses to level the playing field so they can delight their consumers. At the same time, it's enabled us to grow jobs across the United States. We now have 15 fulfillment centers nationwide. But what we're very proud of is that Kentucky is now our most square footage and our most employment. We already have over 600,000 square feet and over 500 jobs in the Commonwealth. We're adding another 500,000 square feet of fulfillment capacity and over 500 additional jobs to the market. What does this mean? It means brands and consumers are recognizing that Kentucky is one of the best central nodes of distribution for the entire United States. And so this bodes very well for the Commonwealth for all types of logistics jobs to come. And Stord is proud to be a part of that, investing over $40 million over the coming years into modernizing our existing facility, building out our new facility, and growing all these jobs. We deeply appreciate the state for having us and being such a great partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I think Sean sells Kentucky about as well as I do. Thank you. And finally, today we're announcing another project as Midwest Equipment Manufacturing shares plans to invest $15 million to expand its operations in Maysville. Several of the company's product lines will be relocated from other facilities to begin production in Maysville. And the company will be creating 66 new skilled jobs in the process. Midwest Equipment Manufacturing is a family-owned company. It produces everything from lawnmowers and vacuums to composters and golf course equipment. I'm thrilled at this relocation and expansion from Midwest Equipment Manufacturing, and we're excited for 66 new jobs coming to Mason County. All right. Last night, President Trump gave a speech to the American people, and I was disappointed but not shocked to find he still doesn't get it. Continuing to call affordability a hoax while American families are struggling is a slap in the face to our people. I want Kentuckians and Americans to know I'm listening to them. I encourage folks to join us on January 7th for my State of the Commonwealth and Budget Address. It'll begin at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and you'll have more options to watch than ever before, including on my social channels. We'll be sharing more information in the coming weeks, but simply put, it will be a very different address than what you heard last night, one that focuses on delivering results to make the lives of our people better, that makes the lives of our people a little easier, because I'm committed to listening to our families and addressing their concerns, because I believe the American dream should be attainable. Whether it's becoming a homeowner, being able to pay the bills at the end of the month, affording health care, or even taking that same family vacation that you went on as a kid, these are the things our American families deserve. I'm committed to making them possible. So we'll see you on Wednesday, January 7th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for my State of the Commonwealth and Budget Address. That leads us to our current budget and some steps that I have taken today to make sure that we are fiscally responsible and that our current budget is balanced. Since I took office, I've been committed to making Kentucky fiscally responsible. What that really means is being responsible with Kentuckians' hard-earned dollars, and that means balancing a budget every year. I've been proud to do that and then some. Together, we celebrated the 3 largest budget surpluses in Kentucky's history. In each, we brought in more revenue than projected, and we provided services at a lower cost than estimated. Because of that, we've also secured a record rainy day fund. After that, so we have recently had to call the consensus forecasting group in. That is the group of economists that set the amount of revenue that is projected for our state budget. So you do that before the budget, and you make sure you use those numbers. Under state law, at other times, we need to call them in and to see if that number is still accurate. Now, several months ago, they came in and projected, due to challenges in the national economy, we were going to have a shortfall of $305 million. But then we had a couple of really good months, a lot of economic activity, and so the forecasting group came back in and they changed their projection from $305 million to $156 million. Now, $156 million sounds like a lot of money, but in the context of a $16 billion state budget, it's really about 1% of general fund revenues. But still, Kentucky law requires a budget reduction, which I'm sharing today. The primary portion of my plan for the executive branch is to reduce general fund appropriations by $77.7 million. For many agencies, this is a 3% reduction to their enacted budget. Most agencies are meeting this reduction through what we call vacancy credits. These are jobs that were budgeted for, that there are dollars in the budget for, but are not currently filled. And what the cabinets are opting to do is not filling them through the end of the year, but they've gone through and made sure that any that are absolutely necessary, that funding is still there for, while saying we can wait until the next budget or we can operate without some of these jobs. So we're going to be able to manage this shortfall and still provide necessary services to Kentuckians. Priorities that we are protecting and that people will see include funding for our K through 12 systems. There are no cuts there. The post-secondary education institutions, no cuts there. Medicaid, no cuts there. Pension funding for educators and state employees, no cuts there. Public safety, including state police and juvenile justice, there are also no cuts. Now, I want to make sure that people know that I am personally taking part in this budget reduction plan. When I was AG and there was a needed budget reduction under the law, I always participated. As governor, my office and the lieutenant governor's office are also taking the 3% reduction. But for the first time in, I think it's 43 years, we have constitutional officers that are refusing to do their part, to be fiscally responsible, and to take part in the budget reduction. The auditor and the treasurer have just said no. They won't take part or do their part, even though this is all set up by state law. The other constitutional officers we have not received a plan from, but we hope and expect to get one because, again, they can meet this simply through vacancy credits in each of their offices. There is nothing partisan or political about a budget reduction. It's created through statute. The way we're supposed to go about it is created through statute. And all I was asking is that each office do their part. I know that we're doing ours, and we'll ultimately balance this budget, and we'll get ready for this next budget session to have a budget that sets us up for future success here in Kentucky. Next, we're highlighting the work Team Kentucky is doing to keep Kentuckians safe. We've worked to reduce overdoses with 3 straight years of reductions in our drug overdose deaths. We've also focused on better housing, better health care, safer roads, the day-to-day issues that mean so much to our families. We always encourage people to make safe choices and to watch out for each other, especially when driving. Today, I want to take a minute to say to all Kentuckians, good work and keep it up. Preliminary crash reports already show fewer traffic fatalities and fewer serious injuries when compared to last year. So far this year, we've lost 636 people to fatal crashes on Kentucky's highways, each one a child of God gone far too soon. While that's still too many, 636, it's a 7% decrease in fatalities from the past year. It's an 18% decrease since this day in 2023. We've also seen an over 2% decrease in serious injuries, going from 2,713 to 2,647. Now, these numbers are preliminary. We still need to build on the progress, and we need to make sure that next year we have even fewer fatal accidents than we had this year. On Team Kentucky, we're working harder to create safer roads. In 2025, we've awarded more than $1.5 billion in road and bridge projects. This is work focused on making your commute smoother with new pavement and safer with updated intersections and more. Our team's pushing educational efforts like the Safe Teen Driving Challenge. We're also getting out the word through advertising focused on making safe decisions behind the wheel. And we continue to see important campaigns like Click It or Ticket make a big difference. So to everybody, remember, drive the speed limit, buckle up, most importantly, put your phone down. Let's keep doing our part because simple choices save lives. Together, we can make the roadways safer for everyone. All right, as the temperatures have dropped, we've been working with local officials to look out after our people, which was really important this past week when we had dangerously cold weather. Our Kentucky Emergency Management team has helped lead that effort with a number of warming centers located across the state for those in need. You can see those on your screen. But this work is truly a team effort, and these folks go above and beyond to help their neighbors. An example of this is in Campbellsville, where Kentucky Emergency Management delivered 25 cots and bedding to the Campbellsville Upper Room Church. The church was operating as a community warming center. Taylor County Emergency Management Director Ronnie Dooley requested the cots, and Justin Graves and Bruce Crouch on the state team helped deliver them and get it done. These warming centers are there for our people at their greatest time of need. The Campbellsville Center is open from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They offer an evening meal, shower, facilities, and snacks. And so many of these centers across Kentucky do the same. If you work at a warming center or know one in need of additional resources, you can reach out to our Emergency Management Division. All right. And as we said, this is our last Team Kentucky update before Christmas. And Brittany and I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, full of happiness, love, and special memories with those that you love. This is the time of year when we lift up our families and our neighbors in the spirit of giving. So, for this week, we want to recognize someone who truly embodies that spirit, Santa Claus. Santa brings so much joy to our kids, not just with presents, but with hope with kindness and even a little magic. So this week's team, Kentucky All-Star, is Santa, along with every person out there working hard to make Christmas extra special for those around them. Merry Christmas, Kentucky. We wish everyone a healthy, happy, and safe celebration with those that you love. We'll be taking the next 2 weeks off from the Team Kentucky Update to help everyone celebrate Christmas and the new year. So we'll see everyone back in 2026 on Thursday, January 8th at 12:30 p.m. Until then, you can see lots of great news across all of our social media channels. And again, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. With that, we'll open it up for questions. We have one journalist in the studio and a number on the line. We'll start with Carolina.
Governor, on the Ford battery plant situation, there are some questions about the taxpayer investment that went into attracting this company and building this out. Are there any repercussions? Is some money owed back to the state now that this company is undergoing some major?
Yeah. So we're working through the incentive agreement with Ford, trying to understand their long-term plan. Ford has basically stepped in the shoes of Blue Oval, but now we've got to look at what was promised versus what they're projecting. For instance, right now they're projecting 2,100 jobs in Kentucky One. Blue Oval had projected 2,500 jobs in Kentucky One, and then we've got to talk about Kentucky Two as well. Now that's changed, but another change is more has been invested than was originally incentivized. And so we have both the jobs and the investment. You know, they moved from $5.8 billion to adding another $2 billion, which is $7.8 billion. So there's going to be a little bit of negotiation on both of those sides, but we're still working through all of that. On the line, we have Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor, and Merry Christmas to you and your family as well, and Happy New Year to you. What are the offices that you have not heard yet from on the constitutional offices on those budget cuts you want everyone to make? And what was the reason given by those that refused?
Let's see. The Lieutenant Governor and I are the two constitutional officers that have said, yes, we'll take the budget cut that everyone has taken in the past every time. The Treasurer, I don't think, gave a specific reason. The auditor said, I've uncovered all of this wasteful spending. You can balance the budget that way. That's not how it works. And then we haven't heard officially from any of the others. Now, while we're taking a 3% cut, they could agree to a 1% cut. That's the amount of the general fund we're looking at. Though in the next budget, things are going to be tighter, and they're going to have to do the same jobs they're doing with a little bit less. So now would be the time to get ready. We also haven't heard from the prosecutors yet, and then the other two branches of government just have a legal duty to ultimately put a plan into place. Next, we've got Bryce Patterson from WPSD.
Governor, I want to ask about the extradition of Philip Whitnell. He's being held in Illinois. He's accused of the murder of Stephanie Stacy in Paducah. Donna Dixon, our McCracken County Commonwealth Attorney, FedExed a request on Tuesday, and we're just wondering about the timeline there.
Yeah, our office has been communicating directly with the Commonwealth Attorney. They talked on Tuesday. They talked yesterday. We are required to get certain information and paperwork in, but we are working to expedite that, working with her directly. We know it's very important to the community. I know what a horrific act that was and done in front of so many people. My hope is that we will take domestic violence a lot more seriously. We certainly have in this administration, but the number of people that we lose every single year to it is staggering, and each and every one of those victims and their families deserve better. So we're going to work to expedite it as much as we can, provided we have all the necessary information to do it legally. Karen Czar. Okay, Carly Hogston from WKYT.
Thank you, Governor. Senate Bill 100, which was signed into law in March, creates a new licensing requirement for tobacco retailers, but many say the application system opened late and haven't received approval, with thousands still waiting. Is the January 1st deadline still fair? And what is the state really doing right now to get these licenses approved in time?
Yeah, I need to check on that. If there's a challenge there, we'll look into it, and certainly businesses should be treated fairly. Next, Sylvia Goodman.
Hello, Governor. I just had a follow-up question. I couldn't hear Carolina's exact question at the beginning, but on the status of that upfront $250 million loan, I know you said that there's some questions about additional investment, but as you said, they aren't going, at least they're not planning on hitting those employment targets by 2026. What are the options for the state to recoup that money if that's the route you decide to take?
Yeah, there's security in the agreement with these companies. The state could recoup those dollars, but where we are right now is in a negotiation because the project had changed for what's fair, and we haven't worked through all of that. But there are contractual obligations that are out there, and those contracts have the mechanisms if certain thresholds aren't hit. But again, that's answering the question in the factual. There's still a lot to work through with this company. We want this project to happen and to be successful. We also need to make sure that it's fair to the Kentucky taxpayer and the agreement that we entered into. So we're keeping all that in mind as we work through these steps. It's important to remember it's been about 8 days. Ford's still working through its plan, still working through what employment may look like in the interim. So we'll have updates as we have them. Liam from the Kentucky Lantern.
Hi, Governor. I wanted to ask you about what the Lantern reported this week about Secretary of State Michael Adams saying the Department of Justice asked for voter registration data, including sensitive information such as, driver's license ID numbers, social security numbers. The DOJ has sued something like 18 states over voter registration data, arguing that they needed to ensure elections are secure. Adams hasn't provided sensitive data, including social security numbers yet. What do you make of the request by the Department of Justice? And do you have an opinion over whether such data should be handed over?
Our family's sensitive, private, personal data is theirs, and it should be protected, especially by a state organization that told them, provide it to me and we will protect it. Time and time again, the federal government, the Trump administration, has come for that data. They threatened to cut off SNAP if we didn't give it to them. We stood up to them. We said, this is the personal data of Democrats, Republicans, independents. It's Kentuckians' personal data, and you're not entitled to it. We took them to court, and we won. It's happened in other areas as well. I mean, you either put the loyalty to the people of Kentucky and the promise that you made to them about how you would keep their data private, or in this instance, a loyalty to party or a president first. You only have one choice. I'll always choose Kentuckians. I'll always push back when there is an unlawful request. That personal data belongs to each and every one of those families, and if the federal government doesn't have a legitimate right to it, you shouldn't turn it over. Sadly, in a lot of states, they have. They just did it. They did it without even announcing it. They did it because they're either loyal to or scared of this president. I'm not either. And finally, Isaiah Kim Martinez.
Thank you, Governor. I know Congressman Brett Guthrie has been critical of efforts by Democrats specifically to, in his words, push a mandate for EVs. We did get a message from a viewer in Bullitt County the other day who flat out told us, listen, she's not ready to buy an electric car just because someone else thinks she should. With everything that's happened with Blue Oval, are you still as confident that electric vehicles really will be adopted by Kentuckians and Americans broadly?
I am, but there was never a mandate. That is Congressman Guthrie pushing misinformation. There were tax credits to help Kentuckians afford EVs before their price comes down, which is what will happen. Congressman Guthrie also called it a liberal pipe dream. Tell that to the 1,600 people at Blue Oval who had secure jobs until he pushed through the big ugly bill that eliminated tax credits that Ford and SK were counting on because they were the law, and they'd invested billions of dollars in Brett Guthrie's district. Are you really going to champion a law that is going to cause that many people to lose their jobs? If you're Brett Guthrie, the answer is yes. Listen, I don't call many people out by name, but this is just an example of leaving your people behind. We should be better than this. I mean, I toured a Blue Oval. I got the chance to meet a lot of these workers, and it's why I'm going to work so hard to make sure they're placed in good jobs, that we ultimately provide offers to every single one of them. And yes, because you see it happening in the rest of the world, when our technology allows us to sell an affordable EV, a whole lot of people are going to get them. But to that person in Bullitt County, I'm okay if she's not ready for an EV. A lot of people aren't, but the market is going to change and evolve into the future. Okay, and we do have Karen Czar back on with our final question. Karen, it better be good.
Governor, since everything I need has already been asked, what is your message to Kentuckians for the holidays?
My message is Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. Christmas for me is a time when we remember light in the darkness, hope during difficult times. You look historically, the time of King Herod was so tough on the people of that portion of the world. They lived in fear. They lived in times of famine and disease. They lived at a time that had little hope, and so many people were subjugated and enslaved. And at that time, God sent his only son to this world to give us that hope and to grow up and to show us an example of kindness, of empathy, and of compassion that we all ought to be following. So this is a time where if you're worried about things out there and how they've been going on, have some hope. But remember, throughout the rest of the year, we're supposed to live that example of that child who grew up into a man and a Messiah. We're supposed to follow that golden rule that he kept talking to us about in the parable of the Good Samaritan. And after telling that parable, he looked at the people in the crowd and said, "Go and do likewise." I certainly hold that with me in the way I go about my life and my job, and I hope Christmas is a reminder that we can all do better, that we can all be better. This is a world that ought to be filled with compassion and not cruelty, and that's possible. All right, Merry Christmas, everybody. See you back on January 8th.